Good day and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly examination of the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. I'm Eoin Devereux, news reporter, sports reporter for the Neepawa Banner Press. I'm joined this week by Casper Wehrhahn, a news reporter with the Banner Press as well. Casper, great to have you sitting in with us this week.
Good to be here as always, and we have an interesting paper this week, so thank you, the audience, for joining us once again.
That's right. That's a very, very astute point, Casper. This one, if you haven't tuned in before, you picked a very good one to tune into for the very first time. And if you're a regular, you're going to really appreciate what's occurred on this week's edition. The story behind this story is that it came in less than an hour before our scheduled deadline, where we send the paper off to get printed. And it is a big story. We're going to talk about the story that was on the front page initially, a little later on, but this one took precedent, and you're going to find out why right now. A cyber attack strikes the municipality of Westlake Gladstone, a significant cyber fraud attack in actuality of almost $447,000 stolen from the municipality over the course of several months, over the course of 47 separate incidents. Investigation is ongoing right now with the RCMP, with a cybersecurity team, with the municipality itself hiring individuals to look into this. This is something, you hear about in movies usually, and you don't think it's going to happen. You think it's going to happen in big businesses, large cities. You don't think a small community, a small area like Westlake Gladstone would be hit like this. So this came out of the blue, didn't it, Casper?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, we weren't sure what to expect from this. We sort of got the heads up that something was going to be announced there. But the sort of interesting thing here is we usually, depending on what the situation is, try to get stories on an embargo basis, meaning we won't release it until it's ready to be released. But they didn't do that for this, and I kind of understand why, considering the topic, the circumstances. And we were certainly blown away when we got that phone call from Eoin with the details, and got to scrambling after that with what exactly those details were. And we're like, okay,
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep. To share, again, the story behind the stories, we go to print usually Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. This press conference in Gladstone occurred Wednesday at 1 o'clock. I drove out there. I honestly was not expecting. I thought it was going to be maybe a check presentation, or maybe some announcement of some new infrastructure, maybe some new construction going on in the community. What came out of this was, I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised by it. I've been around in this business long enough that not a lot really just surprises the heck out of me, and this is one of those ones. It really was. And as Casper had said, I phoned in immediately after the press conference was over. I phoned in and I said to Ken Waddell, the owner and publisher, co-owner with Christine Waddell, and publisher of the Banner Press, I said, Ken, swipe the front page. We've got a new front page story, and this is it. I'll show you the front page there, some of the details, and we will be following up on this story, obviously, over the next few weeks and months on this, because this is a big deal. Almost $500,000 stolen from the taxpayers, from the ratepayers in Westlake Gladstone. Westlake Gladstone has checked their servers, their security system. They found no issues on this. This is from an outside source. So the investigation seems to suggest that there's no inside issues at all. This is an outside source. The money, in terms of 47 different withdrawals, was done $9,950 at a time over 47 different occasions. The money was transferred into an account in Toronto, apparently, and then shipped internationally. They're still trying to figure out where internationally it's gone. The RCMP are involved. Cybersecurity officials for many different organizations are involved right now. This is a big deal, and obviously this is something that is going to be very much playing out over the next few weeks. Like, let me throw back to you, Casper. What are your personal takeaways on all this?
I mean, I don't even know where to start, honestly. Like, this is a huge story. I think this is actually the first time since I started a few years ago where we've had to do that, sit and wait, and then, oh, holy crap, shuffle everything.
Yep.
And get that on the page and get it out so that's proper and, you know, as few mistakes as possible and just get it out the door. 'Cause we, again, our deadline is like 1 o'clock. We didn't get it out until like 2, so it was tight. It was really tight, yeah.
What's interesting there, as Casper said, because we are a weekly paper, we do have a little more of a relaxed atmosphere where we can get some stuff done, get it put together, sort of dot the I's, cross the T's, get it all looked after. 6 years with the Banner Press myself, but before that I had spent 10 years, just over 10 years, in radio, which has a different deadline structure in which there were times where I would show up 10 minutes before the top of the hour, and I would have to have the story written and ready to go for the top of the hour. You know, those types of oh geez moments. I don't get them. They're not the same here. I mean, this is more of a, you do a more thorough examination of all the topics, which is wonderful. It's the reason I jumped over, because, you know, radio's great for the immediacy of it, but not the thoroughness of it. You know, they give news like 3 minutes at the top of the hour in between crappy Taylor Swift songs. So that's why I came over to a place where news matters. And this is a great example of it. I mean, we are very proud because as we record this right now, we are the exclusive. There is no other media source in the world that has this story at this moment. Most likely by the time you probably watch the show, perhaps it will start to get out there, but it's something we're a little proud of. You know, sometimes the little paper that could sometimes gets the big scoop. So once again, this is very, very big deal. Cyber fraud attack on Westlake Gladstone. It just shows as well that nobody is sort of hidden away from these types of things that can happen to anyone, and any business and any community. So we do hope there is a resolution. We've only even scratched the surface. You want to read this. It's a release that they gave out to us, and it details several things. They have very interesting things to say about the incident, about how it's been handled by their insurance coverage, how it's been handled by their banking institutions. We're not going to throw names out there. I'm not going to throw names out there, but they do. So if you'd like to get those details, if you'd like to get that, you're going to have to pick up a copy of this week's edition of the Banner and Press, read it for yourself, make your own decision making on that. This is a story we will be thoroughly examining, I am sure, over the next little while. But it was something very interesting that came through our newsroom just recently. Again, talking about, we had touched on it very quickly there, Casper, about the front page was something dramatically different there. Why don't you take us initially through what was page 1?
Absolutely. So initially what was page 1 was a new business opening up in the community, hopefully soon, is what the owner says, expecting possibly early November. But it is going to be a cannabis retail store. It's called Prairie Trichomes, and they chose Neepawa because the owner, Devereux, wanted to serve rural Manitoba, and this town, he said, has the right population and is a central location to cater to many surrounding communities. So that's why Neepawa was chosen, and of course, as I mentioned, they're hoping to open early November. They are still waiting on some licensing, if I remember correctly. It's the retail license, so they can actually sell to the public. At the moment, they do have their distributing licenses, so they can distribute to other retailers, along with the other stores as they do. And it's a fairly new business as well, just about a year old now. They have their microcultivation license. They got that so they could start getting started, obviously. So they're operating at about half capacity through Carver, I believe, for their growing operation. So it's an interesting development for sure. It's something that was kind of rumored before for a long while, if I remember correctly, not at this location, at a different location.
Yep.
Now it's finally here.
And not this organization as
yes,
well.
Yes, that as well.
Yep. I mean, when they came up, we were all sort of like, wait, who? We weren't quite sure who these individuals were. Kira Patterson, who wrote the story, did a good job of sort of tracking down those details. So you can check that out on page 16. And like you said as well, the location was a bit of a surprise as well. Most of the talk had been that it was going to be in where the second location for Farmery Estate Brewery is right now, next to the subway in Neepawa. Most of the hearsay had been that.
Yeah, I remember that
Yep.
sort of being the talk. So when Farmery popped up there, it's like,
All right.
I wonder if that's actually going to happen, where it's going to go now.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. As Casper had mentioned there are very specific rules that must be followed, regulations and licenses that must be in place for something like this. And if you've seen the multiple businesses like this that are in Brandon, they're very stringent in their entire structure. The glass is you can't see through it. The businesses as well have security on a location whenever they're open. Very stringent security systems that have to be in place on this. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I'm not surprised, well, maybe a touch surprised of Neepawa getting something like this. We are large enough that we could have a business like this, but we'll see how it plays out. My personal opinion on it, I got no problem with it. It's legal now, quite honestly. And I've a little into it. I know people who have done it even before it was legal. I was never big into that thing, and everybody knew it. It was like, you do you, and I'm cool with it. Just keep away from me on that stuff. And that was the understanding. And now that's legal. And like I said, for many years, legalize it, tax it, and let's put that money into infrastructure. Let's put that into medicine. Let's do some good with it, because it's one of those things that there was so much time and effort put into, in a lot of ways wasted when it was illegal. That might not be your opinion, and you're entitled to that opinion. So we'll see how it plays out and how it goes. Anything else you want to add, Casper?
Not a whole lot, but you did make good points about sort of the process. We sort of touched on that. These businesses have to be very clean, and the employees have to be very knowledgeable about what they're selling. So, obviously if people have questions, they can answer them, regardless of what it may be, medicinal or otherwise. And actually, that's a good thing as well. The medicinal properties of it, that could help some people for sure. And of course, they won't have to travel as far to get that product that they need.
Yep.
Certainly good news for if my partner ever comes up to visit, whenever that might be as well, because he does have some chronic pain issues, and that can be quite the damper on things, just doing day-to-day stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. I don't think it'll be a big change on the community, honestly, in my opinion. There might be like one or two people getting into it for the first time, just to explore or something, but I don't think it'll cause any issues.
And again, it's one of those things of, quite honestly, a lot of people sort of clutch their pearls about topics like this from time to time, saying, oh, it's a gateway and it's this and it's that. I'm not 100% sure on that myself. I think it's a case of people who have done it over the years will continue to do it, and people who don't won't. Quite honestly, the fact that it's opening up, I'm not going to think all of a sudden, oh, hey, all right, I'm going to go get some of that. No, it's just, it is what it is. And let's move forward, and let's welcome this new business with open arms. They're going to be paying property taxes, which is great, because more property taxes for them means less property taxes for us in the grand scheme of things. So
Yeah.
always look at it that way.
Yeah, and as well, like, I understand it can be an irritant to some people, myself included, specifically regarding the smell. It's not a nice smell. But there actually is a lot of options I've learned. My brother actually has a pen that's completely odorless that he uses sometimes. And think about it this way as well. Before it was legalized, it wasn't a clean product. You were getting, the cannabis for sure, but whatever else they decided to put into it to make it cheap. Mm-hmm. Getting it through a licensed store, that product is clean. So if you do know somebody that is using it, you at least know that they're safer. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
No, we'll definitely see on how this plays out over the weeks, months, and years ahead. You can see that story. It is on page 16 of this week's newspaper. Let's shift over to page 2. A couple interesting stories. First one we're going to cover is the one Kira took an examination on. Then we're going to get into Casper's update on a significant organization within our community. First off, a new staff sergeant has settled in quite nicely at Spruce Plains RCMP detachment. The new area commander is Staff Sergeant Colby Argue. We welcome him to the community, and Kira was able to do a sort of a story on him. Get some of his background information, where he's been assigned, his thoughts on moving into the community of Neepawa. It's really quite nice to see a new face out there. He's very much looking forward to sort of working with the community. Some very interesting ideas. Now, I'm very glad to see that we finally got some certainty, because he is the permanent staff sergeant. The temporary staff sergeant, the acting staff sergeant, had been Mark Morehouse, who had been in that role for about 7, maybe 8 years.
This story actually says 6 years, so you're pretty close there, yep.
Yep, 6 years as the acting staff sergeant. You couldn't find somebody in that amount of time? Really? It took that long? Oh, but hey, that's neither here nor there. We do have a permanent one right now, and it's great to be able to see somebody sitting at the big desk like that. Anything else you want to add to that?
Not really, but when I read that, I could kind of imagine the RCMP going like, this is a temporary position, we promise. Yeah. Just hold on for like another year.
Well, temporary is relative in time, Compared to 1,000 years, it was only a temporary, position.
True.
It was like that. Yep.
Blink of an eye.
Exactly. So that's on page 2 of this week's edition. Just going to segue quickly before we move on to the next story in regard to RCMP as well. Page 15. We're getting new every week updates from the RCMP, a Spruce Plains RCMP report. Corporal Jacob Stanton is taking care of that for us. This is the second week that it's been in our publication. We are very appreciative of that, and it very much sort of talks about some of the things that are going around in Neepawa and around our community. So we are very appreciative of that. And along with that as well, a Constable Haley Vanderpool, we got a picture of her doing the ceremonial puck drop on Neepawa's MJHL home opener recently against Winkler. So RCMP out and about everywhere. So we're very appreciative of that commitment and that partnership that we have been able to foster with them. So that's a whole lot of cops in this week's edition of the Banner and Press. All right, now also on page 2, Casper, this is a story you worked on, and very glad to sort of get an update on this. Although there is a lot of work that needs to be done for Arts Forward, is it not? Walk us through it. Yeah,
absolutely. So, as some may know, or most hopefully know, but people outside of the Neepawa community might not know, Arts Forward is art gallery, sort of art establishment in general, really, because they cover the arts in multiple capacities, whether it be food or music or drawing, painting. And last year, this was actually or was it last year? Yes, last year. This was a story that Eoin Devereux had originally done. And Arts Forward was kind of in dire straits. So this year, especially with COVID-19 around, we wanted to get an update from them and see how they're doing. Now, they are doing better this year, but it is a mixed bag. It's various different reasons. They have had to cut costs in different areas, such as garbage cleanup, advertising, and the like. And as well, they weren't able to do as much programming as they would have liked this year, of course, during the pandemic. So those circumstances kind of blocking them from doing certain things. Though they did try to sort of rally together regarding the, private donations and the like, government grants and whatnot, as well trying to adapt to put programming out there as much as possible under the circumstances, making kits for people to take home, putting videos out there to show them how to do it, and all that sort of stuff. As well, the town did increase funding, not as much as they had asked for last year. The exact number will be in the story there, but they did give $15,000 for that funding. So it's really a mixed bag. We have some comments there from both Ron Nordstrom and Rain Pryor, but it's sort of the gist of it is, how do you plan for programming when you don't know if you can have it, you don't know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's really unprecedented circumstances for them, and this is a establishment that really relies on funding from the community through their programming.
Now, refresh my memory on this, Casper. The budget in general, you had said, was around 150 or $100,000 per year, right?
Yeah, just shy of $110,000 per year.
Now the programming, and again, I'm sort of off the top of my head, you'll have to correct me on this, it's well over 50% of that budget is covered through its programming, is it not? If I remember right, is it 55 or 50? It's well over 50 though, right?
I'll actually go through the numbers here because I don't remember right off the top of my head myself, but I did highlight them. So 62% is from the center's programs,
62, okay.
fundraising, and facility rentals. 7% from non-government support, such as donations, and the remaining 31% from government sources, mostly provincial, but at the time, 6% came from the municipal government. Yep. So it is, a significant percentage that comes from being able to do their programming and events.
So again, as you said, 6% from municipal. So even with that increase, that maybe bumps it up to 9%, maybe 10%. Not nearly enough to be able to cover and to keep those doors open. And as Casper said as well, this isn't a new issue. There were issues, as I wrote about last year, that they were dealing with, and that was a good year where they were able to keep the doors open on a consistent basis, where they were able to rent out the space on a consistent basis. With the pandemic, as Casper said, affecting all of us in one way or another, this has been a sledgehammer, essentially, to their plans. They've done the best they can under the circumstances that we're all dealing with, but they do need some assistance, and I am very hopeful that the next story that either myself or Casper writes, or we'll pass the next one to Kira.
Yeah, give her a shot at it.
Pass the baton to Kira on the next one. Whomever writes this next story about Arts Forward, I very much hope the headline can be good news for Arts Forward, or Arts Forward looking good, just something like that. It's something we shouldn't take for granted, and I hope that they're able to get through this. So once again, that's page 2. That's another front page option we had. We had so many front page options this week.
We did. It felt kind of unusual because we've had sort of maybe one option for quite a stretch there, but we had 3 different options that ended up, so we had some tough choices. Yeah.
There's some weeks where it's just like, oh God, does somebody have a photo of a kitten or something we can put on there? Okay, we got nothing. But no, this week we were able to get some very good stories. that were definitely legitimate options for our front page. All right, now we're going to shift over. We're very quickly just going to talk about an unexpected visitor who came through Neepawa recently, and the administration and councillors for the town of Neepawa were very glad this individual stopped by to say hello. It was the province's infrastructure minister, Ron Schuler, who was in the process of going to Rapid City and Rivers to talk about some major support they're putting forward to help with the dams that were damaged by that heavy, significant storm that hit in late June, early July. We got hit by it. Park Lake was devastated by it. But we were on the edge of it. Minnedosa, Rapid City, Rivers were hit hard, significantly on that. But Ron came in, talked with the administration, and assured them that the supports are coming. But keep in mind, though, this is not going to be a one-year fix. It's not like Park Lake is going to be perfect next year. This time next year, we'll all be canoeing. I don't know why this is canoeing, but all right, there, that's better. There, canoeing.
Yeah, maybe you're thinking kayaking. You sort of do like that.
Yeah. No, this was my dad's moves. Yeah, you can see I've never canoed in my life. But this is going to be a long term, 5 to 10 years before we find normal again on there. But it's good to see that the province is working on that, and really, behind the scenes, the town administration, the town council is really working on this right now, trying to come up with a plan. Don't listen to the coffee shop banter. Don't listen to the coffee shop BS about what is or what isn't happening. Talk to your councillors. Go to council meetings. Just keep informed. I mean, they are working on this, but it is a long process. But it is one ultimately that I am optimistic will have a positive impact on the town of Neepawa and the region as a whole. So if you would like to check out that story, sometimes these meat and potato boring stories are a little tough to sludge through, but you can find it on page 6. Sometimes you got to take your medicine. It's not all cyber attacks. Sometimes you just got to read the boring old normal day-to-days. And that's still it's something I hope you take a moment to read. So that is pretty much what we've got to cover this week. Although that's not everything in the paper. There's still many different stories Casper, Kira, and myself touched on. We didn't even touch on any of the sports stuff that went on. It's just there's only so much time in the day for us to be able to cover it on this show. So you're going to have to check it out for yourself. Pick up a copy of the Neepawa Banner Press, a physical copy anywhere in your area, or you can check it out online at mywestman.ca. Now don't forget, if you do have news tips, we definitely will accept them. Give us a call, 476-3401, or email us at news@neepawabanner.com. If you have sports at neepawabanner.com. It'd be nice to hear back from minor hockey, honestly. Oops, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I've sent out many messages and minor hockey never gets back to me. Maybe minor hockey would like to let me know what's going on. I'm just going to throw you under the bus there, guys. Why don't you contact us? You know. Yeah, Ken's not going to like that. But well, what the heck. If you have advertising, ads at neepawabanner.com as well. So we appreciate that. And Casper, thank you very much for taking a little bit of time this week and tuning us in on what's been going on.
Absolutely happy to join as always. And if you need a little bit of a sort of treat to reel you in looking back, we have a sort of interesting story of an attempt to steal a trailer, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and it doesn't go well.
That's great. Crime doesn't pay. And once again, thank you very much for tuning in and spending a little bit of your time with us and going through the stories behind the stories. Bye for now.